This is Clayton Broga
I'm Michelle Muccio, and tonight, a special report.
on hybrid vehicles,
Friend or foe?
the seen and the unseen,
The economic analysis behind the purchase.
decisions behind the consumption.
The love, the hate, the heartache.
Hybrids have become the new it car. Celebrities are driving them to make an environmental statement. Others want hybrids to save money on gas. Some drive them to save time on their morning commutes. And then there are the lonely souls who buy just for style. So would you buy one?
Yeah, I think so. Eventually.
I'm just waiting. It's payment free right now. When that car's done, then it'll probably be a hybrid or something.
Next car.
So what exactly are hybrids?
Hybrids are cars that run off a combo of gas and electric engines. The two most popular models are the Toyota Prius and Honda Accord hybrid. Their sales have doubled every year since 1999. 575,000 were on the road by 2007, 350,000 of which are in the U.S. alone. By 2015, it's estimated that 4 million hybrids will be sold.
Would you buy one for environmental reasons?
Would I buy one for a fireman?
Environmental reasons.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But would you buy one for a fireman?
Of course. Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
Impact environmental?
Yeah.
Okay.
Energy, environment.
The environmental reasons?
These folks, like many, think that if they buy a hybrid instead of a normal car, they're doing their part to save the environment.
But what are the economics behind buying hybrids? Is it really a 100% environment-friendly option? And are environmental reasons the only reasons you should or shouldn't buy one? What's the unseen behind hybrids? Here we are at a local Honda dealership. We thought, who better to learn more about hybrids than the honest car dealer? And then we realized, probably a lot of people. But we're going anyway. Come on.
We sat down with Krista, a Honda car salesman, to get into the heads of hybrid buyers.
Why do your customers buy hybrids, Krista?
The fuel efficiency of the vehicle and just the green effects as far as it being low emissions. Car is as we saw on the side of the Civic outside, it's well below the average for a car that size.
So is what Krista's saying true? Or are customers deluding themselves? No doubt hybrids produce less CO2 emissions due to their superior gas mileage. The Toyota Prius averages 45 miles per gallon on the highway, compared to about 30 to 35 miles per gallon for similar non-hybrids.
But emissions are just one factor to look at when it comes to environmental friendliness. Hybrids actually have some negative environmental impacts that people typically don't consider. We talked to a couple of experts to find out more.
Well, one study compares a Hummer to hybrids and actually concludes that a Hummer is more environmentally friendly. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but the study is correct in that it's looking at things from a broader perspective. Yes, hybrids get better fuel economy, but that's not the only thing to take into account.
Hybrids have a much higher lifetime energy cost compared to most conventional cars. So from research and development to the factory to the junkyard, more energy is used to make hybrids.
We looked more into the study Ben cited, and found that the top-selling Toyota Prius and Honda Accord hybrid have a lifetime energy cost around $3.30, well above non-hybrid vehicles' average of $2.30.
This means that, as a hybrid driver, you consume $1 of extra energy every mile traveled.
Hybrids also contain a number of components that even a Hummer doesn't need, such as the battery system and so forth. And these additional components also require energy to produce, also require energy to dispose of.
While hybrids may pollute less while you drive them, the energy used while making hybrids can be very high.
Heavy cars need a lot of gas to work. Light cars typically don't.
Hybrids are made out of a lightweight carbon fiber instead of heavy steel, so they don't need a lot of gas to go. It just so happens that very same carbon fiber uses much more energy to produce than steel.
Hybrids also take a long time to research and develop. They typically don't last as long as non-hybrids, so disposal of the cars is more common. And at this point in time, they have very specialized parts. All of these things consume extra energy.
The future of hybrid technology is moving towards cars that charge when plugged in, relying more on electricity and even less on gas. With the promise of lower emissions, will the plug-ins of the future pollute less?
Of course, that depends on what you're plugging into. A lot of people don't think about what makes their electricity. Electricity is generated by any number of things. Some produce carbon dioxide and emissions, some don't. Coal, for example, and natural gas produce carbon dioxide, so when you plug in your plug-in electric hybrid and it's being juiced up by a coal plant, then I don't know how much savings you get.
Even this random man I met shopping for a birthday card agreed.
You have to, of course, you run it back to the power plants. You have to take into account all of the inefficiencies. On the pollution side of things, it's not quite so clear. And the reason is that it depends how the electricity is actually generated.
Wait, so what? Who is this guy?
Jeff, I was at the RAND Corporation in Santa Monica, and so I worked on studies.
Oh, okay, well, by all means, Jeff.
If it's generated in a power plant that's coal-fired, and a lot of them on the East Coast are coal-fired plants, then you are indeed moving the source of pollution to a different location, and you have to look and see, oh, the coal is actually pretty polluting. There's much less coal on the west. So if you're with an electric car in the west, you get more power out of hydrothermal energy, non-polluting sources, then you're still better off with the electric car.
If you look at the sort of the gas mileage that you get with the hybrids that you have today, they're not really that much better than a regular small car.
Whoa, Jack. Gas efficiency was the one thing we were sure leaned in hybrids' favor. And if you don't save that much gas, then do you really save that much cash?
A hybrid, basically, you're dealing with two cost centers. You're dealing with the cost center because you still have internal combustion engine and mufflers and all the things a regular car does, and you're adding all the electrical components. So there's no particular reason why it shouldn't cost a lot more than a regular car. So you wash out the long-term advantages of fuel economy because you've got all these upfront costs of having to tool up for two separate, completely different kinds of systems.
Hybrids typically cost about $3,500 more than similar non-hybrid cars. So you would hope to save more than $3,500 on gas while driving that hybrid.
How many miles do you have to drive that Prius until you save some money?
That really depends on how you drive, where you drive, if you're city driving, if you're highway driving, how many miles you put on a car. That's nothing that I would be, comfortable going with because that's going to change. I can have somebody with 40,000 miles on a car in 2 years. I can have somebody with 10,000 miles on a car with 2 years. And so that's really going to vary as far as making up for it.
On average, you would have to drive your hybrid for at least 5 years before getting your money's worth.
Let's assume you buy a Honda Accord hybrid instead of a regular Honda Accord. And let's also assume you drive the standard 15,000 miles a year. This means it will take over 11 years just to break even.
The whole point is saving, and we're talking about just breaking even.
Think back to that extra $3,500 you would have spent on a hybrid. How else could you have used that money? Maybe towards a family vacation?
These foregone alternatives in economics are called opportunity costs. Real simple. When you do one thing, you give up others. So when you buy a hybrid, you give up that vacation. As you can see, trade-offs are everywhere.
We're not saying don't buy a hybrid, but the fact remains there are unseen effects that many environmental enthusiasts don't seem to be considering.
But all we've heard are problems, no solutions.
I would argue instead that what people should want to do is to allow the market to work, and if enough people demonstrate the desire to truly save carbon dioxide through their personal transportation, and I think the market will respond to that. They'll respond with plug-in electric hybrids. Ultimately, that's where you're going to bring in a true reduction in carbon dioxide. Other transportation technologies, things like hydrogen fuel cell technology, these are the sorts of leaps forward that will ultimately bring about the environmental savings that I think some people think that they are achieving through conventional hybrid technology.
Come on, Jack. The market?
Yeah, clearly the government knows best. Surely it wouldn't encourage people to buy hybrids, considering the environmental issues we discussed earlier. Oh wait, that's precisely what it does.
You've got in DC, residents of DC, anybody registering the car in DC, they do not have to pay the sales tax on the car. And then along with the tax credit that you get, it's $1,050, and that's for DC residents, both combined. For our Virginia customers, they do have to pay the sales tax on the vehicle. They still are able to get that tax break, that little over $1,000 tax break. Residents of Arlington do not pay personal property tax on the vehicle.
Here's a case where the government is pushing for a technology that we've shown is both environmentally questionable and costly for consumers.
So the government is taking money from taxpayers and giving it out to hybrid buyers. But the government works in an even subtler way than that.
I don't even know anyone that has a hybrid vehicle.
I have a hybrid.
Do you? Well, now I know someone with a hybrid vehicle.
Wait, Michelle, you own a hybrid?
I thought you never asked, Clay. So in order to get to work more quickly and efficiently, I needed to be able to use the HOV lane. I actually found out that if I purchased a hybrid, I would be eligible for that privilege. The state of Virginia actually grants people who buy a hybrid eligibility to drive on the HOV lane, or the high occupancy vehicle lane. They can do so without having the required 2 or 3 extra people in the car. That's one of the great privileges of having a hybrid.
Really, I think the HOV benefit is marginal compared to the other issues involved. I do.
Now, Jeff, you're a scholar and a prince, and we greatly appreciate you taking a time out from shopping for a Wiener Dog novelty card.
True story.
But I already told our viewers that the HOV inducement was exactly what drove me to make the hybrid purchase.
Moving on. What's your take, Jacko?
I'm against HOV lanes altogether. I can't stand HOV lanes. And that the government chooses winners and losers of who can drive in the extra lane. It's none of their business. The government, if they want to be in charge of building roads, they should build roads big enough to accommodate the taxpayers.
Wait a second. So why does the government get to pick and choose?
The role of the government is to tilt that balance in favor of long-term planning that the boardrooms don't actually do.
But how does the government know what's the right car for us to drive, especially when everyone has different preferences for cars, or anything for that matter?
Ah, now we're getting at a very important economic concept: subjective value. Simply put, people value things differently.
People value things differently, so they buy different products.
I, for one, would never buy a Wiener Dog novelty card.
People can also make the very same decision, like buying a hybrid, for completely different reasons.
Right. Now, if you tie government action back to subjective value, you can see that this is precisely why it is so hard for the government to support the right policies. It's very difficult to get in the heads of a diverse population. But can the private market find the best solutions?
Without question, the government intervening in technology development ultimately is a detriment to technology leaps forward.
The government gives car companies huge cash incentives to develop hybrid technologies, so it only makes sense for them to respond. But, as Jack argues, these well-intentioned government measures actually seem to be stifling technological advances in fuel efficiency. According to one study, if companies focused on improving regular cars' technology, gas mileage could be just as good as current hybrid cars, but at a cost of only $1,000 more than the current price. Compare this with the roughly $3,500 markup of hybrids, and you might ask,
hybrid who?
But Jack, how can we be good stewards of the environment?
How can we live our lives and improve the beautiful world around us?
Ultimately, I think that the way to save the environment is through economic development. People care about the environment when they have enough food on the table, when they have good jobs, when they have transportation options, when they're educated. These are the people who, at the end of the day, care about the environment. And that's why in the United States you can look outside, despite what we're often told, and you see blue skies, we have trees, we have forests, we have wildlife, we have all the things that environmentalists claim that we should try to achieve. We've done it in the United States because we're economically successful.
So once again, we're not telling you not to buy a hybrid.
And we're not the government, so we're not giving you money or special privileges to influence your decisions. Just remember, there's the seen and the unseen.
To recap, Most buy hybrids for environmental reasons.
Which are questionable.
Some buy it to save money.
But don't always.
I bought it to save time.
But you regret it.
And some buy it just for the cool factor.
But that's kind of sad.
Well, it's all subjective.
This is Michelle Muccio,
And Clayton Broga.
signing off for tonight.
Hybrid vehicles, the seen and the unseen. You make the call.
Does anyone want to buy a hybrid?